All right, so welcome to Algebra 1, Unit 1, Lesson 1, Variables and Expressions. Our objective for this lesson is to write algebraic expressions. So I want you to pause the video right now and take a minute to read this first box and make sense of some of these terms, all right? The main things I want you to know is when I talk about a quantity and when I talk about variable quantities, okay? Variable quantities are quantities that can change. And we use variables in this paragraph. A variable is a symbol, usually a letter. It's going to be a letter for most of our uses that represents the value of a variable quantity. That means a quantity that can change, right? Today specifically, we're going to deal with algebraic expressions and numerical expressions. Numerical expressions only use numbers and operations. Algebraic expressions use numbers, operations, and variables. So that's the distinction between the two. So we're going to get started with our first example, writing expressions using addition and subtraction. So you're going to look for some keywords when you're trying to write expressions from word sentences. So in part A, I want you to translate 32 more than a number n into an algebraic expression. So we've got to look at some things here. We know 32 is going to be in our expression. We know n is going to be in our expression. The thing we have to think about is the operation. And I'm looking at that phrase, more than. If I'm talking about an expression and I'm using the term more than, I'm going to say that means to add. So I'm going to say 32 plus n is my algebraic expression. So in this next example, 58 less a number n. It's important that we're careful reading this expression. 58 less a number n means 58 take away a number n. So we're going to write this as 58 minus n, right? So this right here is a good spot for you to pause the video, try the got it question, and then I will explain it once you're ready to go again. So pause the video, work it out, and I'll explain through it. So this got it question. What is an algebraic expression for 18 more than a number n? That more than wording again, more than, we think of add. 18 more than a number n. And we're set there. Okay, so problem 2, we're going to deal with multiplication division. And some of these are pretty straightforward. 8 times a number n. I can write this two ways. 8 times n or 8n. That's going to be the most common way we write 8 times n, 8n, a number times a variable. Just write them next to each other, okay? Next, quotient. Got to remember that's the result of division. That's another one. I can write two ways. N divided by 5. The most common way I am going to write it in this class, usually with division, n over 5, kind of like a fraction, okay? So, again, take a minute, pause the video, and then I'll explain got it number 2, okay? All right, so for got it number 2, same idea. We hear 6 times a number n. I'm just going to write that as 6n. With the multiplication, we've got to be careful sometimes. I'm not always going to say times and give it away that easily. You're going to hear terms like double or triple. If I double a number, it means I'm multiplying it by 2. If I triple a number, it means I'm multiplying it by 3. So just be careful for those phrases, because I'm not always going to hit you over the head with times, multiply. You're going to have to kind of read deeper into the problem and know what it means, okay? So, quotient, same as before. I'm going to write it as 18 over n, as division, okay? 18 comes first, n comes second, 18 goes on the top, n goes on the bottom. So it's important that we're careful when we read these. Then the last one's an important one because I would ask you to explain, right? I'm not going to do a ton of writing with my explanation. I'm going to explain it in words, okay? So do the phrases 6 less a number y and 6 less than a number y mean the same thing? And that's a little tricky because you see the word less, you think, yeah, subtraction. But like before when we read it, 6 less a number y means 6 subtract a number y. 6 less than a number y, the way I would write that is actually y minus 6. If I have $12 and you have 6 less than my $12, I would do 12 minus 6. So with less than, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with how you read it, okay? So these do mean two different things. So I would say no, less than changes the meaning, okay? I'm still learning how to write with this pen, so bear with me, but being able to explain your reasoning is a very important thing. It helps you make solid arguments. It helps you defend your work. So we're going to work on that this year. We're going to work on some explaining and some reasoning, okay? So this concludes this part of the notes. You're going to move on to the next step in your lesson. It's going to be a practice, probably an online practice. Once you finish that, you're going to have another video that it's going to allow you to finish the rest of the notes.